This is a trick to getting started when you are stuck idling in planning mode. Some of us like to stay in planning mode and we await the day when everything will be perfect. And here's the deal. When you're envisioning the perfect outcome, you are envisioning fiction. The truth of what it is you want to achieve requires that you dig in and then you get messy and muddy. You're going to be touching equipment. You're going to be finding tools. You're going to be asking favors. You're going to be rearranging furniture. And I'm speaking of any project you want to get started. This might be a big corporate project where you need to roll out a big project and you don't know how to get it started. You don't know how to pull together the teams. It seems daunting to pull all the pieces together. It can be starting to run a marathon when you don't think that you're at that caliber yet. It can be any of these things that we envision and we desire and we crave, but just getting in motion in real life seems to be just out of reach because we envision something perfect in our mind and it's just a little too high of expectations for what today's real world offers. And there's a lot of books and content out there in the world to help with perfectionism, which I think we all have a little strain of. So perfectionism can keep us stuck. But what I look for in the moment in my KindEdge.com practice of unlocking the alternate ending to our lives, which is getting in motion, getting your ideas, your higher purpose, the thing you really want to achieve before you die in motion, even if it's something you haven't done or something that you're not an expert at yet. The way to get it in motion, I look for the tricks and the hacks that actually work in real life. And I just got a question from somebody whom I'll call L. So L reached out and said, how is it that you just get started with your writing, your videos, that type of thing? Well, I did writing for years. I started my videos because I had to. My house flooded and I'm committed to writing every single or contributing content to my blog, my passion project, to document the process I built for myself. I've committed to that. And so with the flood, I was having to escape to various cities during the second hurricane and so on. So I was stuck on the road for like 6 hours and that kind of thing. And I told myself, I'm not going to not achieve my big rock, my big goal, my higher purpose. And so I was like, well, I've got a phone here. I will video blog, and so started this YouTube channel. And it is a good way to connect my message with people. And my message is a process of how do you get the important things in motion when your life already has too many trains that have left the station carrying you in the other direction? How do you unlock your true higher purpose, your true passion, or just that creative, fun idea that you want to see yourself do before you die? And it seems like every year passes by with you not doing that thing because it's just a little out of the box. So Elle reached out to me and asked, how is it you get all these things going? How is it you sit down and do videos? I certainly make notes for my videos, but I had already worked for 10 years to build the hacks that actually clicked over a change in me, clicked a new default mode, clicked a new behavior in me, because I have those strains of perfectionism as well. I don't like mirrors. I don't like cameras. I don't like any of that. I don't use filters because I kind of want to just throw the picture up without hyper judging how I look in a picture. So one of the hacks that I built that I want to share with Elle and with everybody else is time tethering. Time tethering is not just a fix for perfectionism. Time tethering magically creates progress and learning faster learning along the way. So when you have a long plan and you are working to get all the pieces in a row for that plan, let's say that you need to go see a banker to get a business loan. Let's say you need to work with a partner with a certain agency. Let's say you need to buy equipment, all these things. You can, so let's just say in your plan that in 3 weeks you're going to go see that banker. Well, if your plan is stuck in perfectionistic planning mode, that 3 weeks will become 6 weeks, will become 9 weeks, because you'll say, well, I know I haven't built up all of the funds I need for what I heard is needed to launch a small business and get approved by a bank. I don't have enough time yet, so I don't want to start up the conversation with the banker and so that 3 weeks, you have this accordion expanding of your project plan, and the planning portion of your project plan expands and the action gets delayed and pushed forward. And what you don't realize is the action is the learning. You might do so much planning for that banker meeting, and then when you actually go see the banker, you learn that either the banker would have approved you right up front and has a ton of tools and networks to support you and get you moving faster, or you might learn that that banker is rejecting you and that's not the right path, and you're going to need to go do some presentations to some other funding, incubators and startup groups and that kind of thing. You won't know that until you get into the messy world, the awkward meeting with the banker where you don't have all the answers and you're not fully prepared. You need to jump into that. And that's where time tethering comes in. Anytime you hook your plan to time in real life, you kind of throw yourself into the deep end of the pool, which is fantastic. You'll make a mess, you'll slosh around, but you will learn so much faster, and you'll gain a lot more tools, a lot more networks, a lot more experience. And then your project does gain momentum, and you start to narrow, you get a better path because it's tested in the real world. And so for my friend Elle, the time tethering can be done in a way of, I am going to write this thing or do this video by the time I have to go run this other errand. So if you're planning and you say, I'm preparing for this for 2 hours and then I'm going to take it to tomorrow morning, or I'm going to work on it tomorrow night, that will expand your planning and perfectionism, and it will protect that mode, which is safe. It's unscary. It feels safe. It's not messy. But if you time tether and say, I've committed to this other person that I'm going to send that video by 5 o'clock, then you will go, all right, this microphone's not working right for this video. What are we going to do? Make a decision, try it out, take action. That was messy. Then you get the energy of, now I get how bad my microphone was. And then, which, by the way, I'm praying, I'm using a new microphone right now. So I'm praying it's working. But now you know that microphone isn't good. And so maybe you were weighing, oh, I don't want to spend the extra money on another microphone. Now you're going to be like, boom, if I want to do this, yes, it is highly valuable and important to buy that new microphone. And then you're going to deep dive, do all your shopping comparisons, make the right purchases, and then you're going to learn further when you test that next mic, or you're going to get the first draft of something written and sent over, and you'll say, I'm so sorry, this isn't perfect, but the person's going to respond to you who's reviewing your first draft and say, you know what, that was great. I totally got, and there's just like 3 comments, and now you're in motion, and then you're kind of volleying something back and forth. You're in motion, you're doing the thing. And then you'll see, wow, to write this, it took 10 drafts. I hadn't imagined it would take 10 drafts. Well, it's that volley, that messy volley, that's going to give you that experience. And so go ahead and time tether. So time tether it to a deadline you put on yourself. It's even better to put it on someone outside of your safe network. So make the appointment with a banker. Most banks, you can schedule an online appointment at night. So if you're thinking about it, go online, schedule that appointment with the banker, and or send an email to the person at work that you need to talk to negotiate something. Set that meeting up, and then you say, well, it's now 30 minutes before that meeting. I guess it's go time. You're going to get all your bullet points, discussion points together, and you're going to get in there and you're going to learn. And so that time tethering is so valuable. The other way it helps is if there's something you don't want to do. If you say, I'm going to work out all Monday through Friday this week, and that's just a commitment and it's in stone and I'm stating that commitment. But let's say you get a meeting scheduled at 1 o'clock and you usually work out at noon. You're going to figure out a way to get in there and work out and get back by your 1 o'clock meeting, versus if you didn't have that hard stop. Sometimes we say, well, I'll keep working on this little project, and then it's 12:15 and then it's 12:30, and then you think, well, time got away from me. My morning work took too long. I got sabotaged. I got hijacked. I guess I won't work out today. But if you time tether a commitment to a hard stop, you start to kind of get that tough energy, that push hard energy right around 11:30 in the morning. You start to see how things are still piling up, and you say, look, let's push that to here. This is going to go there. I'm not going to just keep feeding this. I can identify that the project I'm working on is it's expanding into a black hole. So this needs a bigger discussion because it's now making these other parts of my life out of control. You start to see that you can't keep feeding just one part of your life. You will feed the parts that are important. When you time tether and you kind of fit these things in, you feel that energy. So time tethering is a very valuable tool. You hook something. If there's something you know you want to achieve, let's say you want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro and you've spent hours and hours reading about how to do it and watching YouTube videos, go online when you have that downtime and find one person who has climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Email them and say, this is embarrassing, but could we have a call or a meeting to discuss how you did it? Because I need to know how to hook up with a team that can guide me on how to prepare and get me signed up for this. It's that little time tethering. Then when you have that discussion, then you say, oh, now I'm doing all the other ancillary things that build towards it. You could do all the other ancillary things. And if you don't have that hook in your schedule that hooks you to the next thing, you'll kind of stay in that planning mode forever. And the key about time tethering is every single time you take one progress point, you must hook to real life, create the next hook, create the next hook. So after the meeting with the banker, you commit to meet with that banker in 2 weeks with the next information. Or if the meeting with the banker doesn't go well, then you immediately reach out to the next person that you need to talk to, and you say, can we talk Wednesday the 18th at 3 o'clock? Or here are 3 other times I'm available. You hook and make sure that you're kind of being pulled. It's a very different mode when you're pushing through the unknown. You don't know where to push. But if you can create that hook out ahead of you, it pulls you forward. And you know what? You've got all the stuff inside of you. It's there. You just need these hooks to pull it out of you. Similar to that, I'm giving you a 3-in-1 here. When you're doing something that is hard to communicate, imagine an avatar or actually do it with another person on the other end. So in a discussion with a person sitting in the room, or in an online call with another person, or very simply, I've done some of my most helpful communication when I'm sending it to someone. So there was somebody who was actually just asking about, well, that's weird. How did you know that? Do you have that disease? Do you have that disease? I'm like, no, but I've done all this research on my autoimmune challenges and so on. So I've somehow become an expert on these other things. So I just keep taking notes and notes and notes. So this person wanted my thoughts on their current health challenge. And I'm not a doctor, but I was just sharing friendly thoughts on these resources, these books, and so on. And I put together this whole document that I don't think I would have sat down and documented on my own, except that I had in mind this other person who needed this. So you can imagine yourself, whether it's like the concept of being a people pleaser, and that's not good. But if you get stuck being a people pleaser, you waste your time doing things for others and less for yourself. If you find yourself a little codependent and you tend to want to solve other people's problems versus advocate for yourself, in all those cases, you can turn that inside out and turn it into a superpower. And I've done this for myself when I start being too much of a helper and I kind of ignore, like, how did my project not move forward for 4 weeks? But I helped all these other people and solved all these other problems. That's not right. But I kind of turned that inside out by saying, when I'm doing these things, who am I imagining at the other end? And it is a person that I would want to help. It's the person that I've had coffee with. It's me at another age. It's a real human at the other end. And if you imagine that real human, you're going to be able to communicate your message just like you would if you were sitting there with somebody in a coffee shop and you wanted to tell them, hey, I've got a suggestion and I can see you're looking for some help. This might help. And that's just from you to them. It's genuine. It doesn't need to be filtered, and it's based on your real experience. So imagine an avatar. Imagine that person. If you need to put up a picture of that person or get that person on an online call, go ahead and do it. And then the third item is kick the new car. Put a dent in it. Put a scratch in the brand new paint. I'm not too religious. I'm very spiritual, but I don't like to categorize that in one religion. I grew up in one, I married another. I found that when some people are just wonderful people in every religion, but there are sometimes people who use a religion to uh, manipulate people within that group. And so I'm very careful about the humans in between me and my higher powers. And so I'm very careful when I mention religion. I'm just mentioning somebody whom I respect. And so somebody I respected, who happened to be a pastor, had said this in a sermon, which is, you buy that brand new car, and this is also pretty Zen Buddhist as a concept as well, is you buy that brand new car, and as it is perfect brand new, it becomes a bit too precious and it becomes a bit too controlling. And you lose that movement of experimentation. Okay, this is me. That's all he said. But my interpretation is you're at risk of being controlled by perfection because you lose that sense of experimentation, serendipity, playfulness, trial and error, the learning of imperfection, all of that. You get controlled by this idea of perfection. And the concept of comparison. When you see what your product, your writing, your video, your running, the movie you want to make, whatever it is that inspires you, the charity you want to start, if you see people telling their big story and their big TED Talk or whatever, don't compare yourself there because you'll get frozen. You want to just play with the mess. And many great things have begun in a mess. And I think I've mentioned before, I think it's the Deacon couple. So the director of photography, the DP, who worked on Shawshank Redemption, the movie, and many other great movies. If I recall, his last name is Deacon or Deke. and he and his wife work as partners. But he told the story. I went and saw a talk. Again, I'm always looking for makers, and the whole point is he's famous. He's got all these things going on, but in the way he became famous is he did things like, well, they were out in the desert filming, and they had no way to control the light, and so some old red grocery bag, like those just cheap little recyclable grocery bags, a red bag kind of floated by, and he grabbed it and kind of draped it over his lighting and used it, whatever. And so it created this, like, one of the world's best innovations in film lighting. And this was early in his career. And then he did all these other creative things. I mean, think about that. I mean, if your mic's not working, if something's not working, tilt this up here, change this here, move something around, whatever. So just go with it, and find the gift in the challenge. There's always a gift in every challenge. Every video, my dog gets up. I don't know if you can hear him slurping, but he is slurping. I think he knows that he also does this during Zoom calls. If I'm on a Zoom call, he'll ignore the water for hours. And if I'm on a Zoom call, he'll come up right next to my desk and do the slurping. So this is what I wish you, is this sense of experimentation. Imagine a real person. You are a genuine person with things to deliver to others. Go for it. Make it gritty, make it messy, time tether it, hook it to something real, get it out of your head, hook it to something real. And when you see little bits of progress, you start rolling down the hill, because it gets easier and easier and easier. So I hope that helps, and I wish you well. And I hope you'll join me on this KindEdge.com journey to unlock the alternate endings to your life. It is not going to be easy, but it's going to be fun. Peace.